Hello everyone, and welcome back to Everyday People Do Business and Money. I'm Mel, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about my retirement plans. I'm going to give you an overview of what I've got set up so that we can really open up a discussion about women in their 40s and the kind of preparation that we need to be making so that we can have the kind of comfortable retirement that we have in mind. And that really does bring me, I think, to my first point, which is that none of the setup that I've got would really be possible if I wasn't already thinking about what kind of life am I hoping to lead in my 60s and 70s and beyond. And as well as thinking about all of the good things that I really still want to have in my life and the things that I want to be doing and the places that I want to go to, I'm also thinking about any potential challenges and difficulties that might come in over the course of those decades as well. So trying to build up a really realistic picture of what I want versus what I might end up also needing at that time as well. The second point that I think is really important is that I always think that people's attitudes towards planning for retirement or just retirement in general can fit onto a scale. You sometimes get people at one end who really are planning for their retirement, and they're going without a lot of things during the kind of the first 2/3 of their life, and they're putting huge amounts of money aside and they're being really restrictive, and it's almost like they are pushing all the things that they want to do into the retirement stage of their life. I feel as though my parents, who are both boomers, I feel that that's more the attitude that they have taken, and it does mean that they are in a good financial position in their retirement. I mean, partly because of the generation they come from, but also because of their hard work and the way in which they just went without so much stuff and things, and travel that they could have done. All sorts of things were just put to one side, and it was all kind of focused on retirement. So I feel that there's kind of that end of the spectrum. And then you get the people who are just like, oh, I'm not saving anything for retirement because I could be dead tomorrow. True, you could be, but on average people are living into their 80s. And I do sometimes think that people at that end of the spectrum are just really worried that they have completely missed the boat, and they don't think that they're capable of setting up anything for their retirement, and that in some ways, and probably for both ends of that spectrum, both extreme ends, there's an element of defensiveness when it comes to sort of talking about the future and future finances. I always think the loveliest place to be on any spectrum is not at any extreme point, but to work out where you are, and you're going to be somewhere kind of along the middle, or slightly more to one side and slightly more to the other side. Usually that's where most people fall. When it comes to my own retirement planning and organisation, and when it comes to me allocating funds, I definitely am putting money towards my future, but I am also making sure that I am keeping what I need back to have a good life now. If you want me to talk more about how I've sort of calculated and worked out what I actually need in retirement and worked out what I want my life to be like in my retirement, then let me know in the comments, because this is just an overview today, and any of the different things that I talk about I can go into much more detail in a separate video. So you tell me what it is that you want or need. Now, those are my two kind of overarching points, I suppose, about my retirement planning. Now what I'm going to do is run through the different things that I have got set up that in combination together should ensure, are certainly looking like they're going to ensure, that my future decades, really I'm talking about once I get to sort of 60 and beyond, if I am lucky enough to have those decades, then I know that I'm going to be able to live the type of life that I want to live at that stage. And it goes without saying that all of this is flexible, it's subject to change, it's the kind of thing that you can review from year to year. So you don't have to decide everything and keep it rigid and never change your mind about anything. But this is where I'm at at the moment. I think editing me is going to be able to put me off to one side and then put down the other side just a little list of the things that I have set up. Number one, so I was a teacher for just over 12 years and I paid into the teacher's pension scheme. So I will have my teacher's pension and that will pay me a monthly amount, and I will also get a lump sum with that pension as well. And I will tell you a bit later on what I'm planning to do with that lump sum payment that comes with the pension. I've put these in order of size, basically. So my biggest pension is my teacher's pension. Next up then is the state pension. I should be entitled to a full state pension. You can go on and check to see if you've got any gaps or not, and in certain circumstances, and I think between certain dates and things, you can kind of top up and you can fill in gaps, and you can try and get yourself to the point where you either get the full pension or you get as close to that as possible. But suffice to say, there will be teacher's pension, which is a workplace pension, is a public sector workplace pension, so it is generally better than a lot of workplace pensions that are out there, so I'm hugely grateful for that scheme. So teacher's pension scheme and state pension. And then I also have a third very tiny workplace pension run by Nest, and I get that via the exam work that I do for an exam board. And the Nest workplace pensions are the ones that I believe were set up by the government as part of that auto enrolment policy, where you have to, instead of almost like having to make the effort to join the pension scheme, with this, you have to make a point of leaving it. It's just that slight flip in the action that people need to take. So it's easier to have a pension and it's harder to not have one, if you see what I mean. I've explained that very badly. I know what I mean. So I have one of those. I don't do a huge amount of work for the exam board over the course of the year. I could increase it. I definitely think that I'm likely to increase it once I get into my 50s. I can also continue to do the work that I'm doing for them into my 60s and 70s. A lot of the people that work on the teams that I work within, a lot of them are definitely pensioners. But the skills that you need to do the work do not go away, and I think it's dominated by people that are retired, because it's really difficult to fit the exam work in when you are still teaching. I mean, I have done that. I did do the work that I'm doing now while I was a teacher, but only in years where I felt a lot more on top of things, and there were certain years where I just absolutely categorically could not do it because I was up to my eyeballs. So over the years, even though this workplace pension is very small, I think it's worth having, because there's obviously the employer contribution, and the fact is that I could end up doing a lot more work sort of towards this pension as time goes on, and actually even maybe into my retirement. So those are my 3 pensions that I currently have set up. And then I've got a little box at the bottom here with a question mark over whether I also add in a private pension, something that is geared towards self-employed people whose income can fluctuate and who might not be able to pay a regular amount in, but during periods of time where perhaps you're earning a lot more than you need, you might be able to put some lump sums in there and things like that. So that's something that I'm looking into as a possibility. I feel pretty safe and secure with what I've already got set up, but I also am tempted to add in a 4th one as well, but I haven't done it yet. I'm thinking about it, but I haven't completely decided whether it's necessary as yet. So that's what I've got pension wise. Now let's take a look at investments. So the point of me having, or the point of anyone having really, investment accounts, but certainly the point of me having or building up investment accounts is so that I can draw down on them when I'm in retirement. So for example, traditionally drawing down 4% on your investment account, which basically means taking 4% of what's in there out of the account and using it to live on. That's what the drawdown means. 4% is considered to be the safe withdrawal amount. You could withdraw just 3%, or you could take a chance and withdraw a little bit more, but the idea being that the investment account will sort of replace the money that you've taken out of it if you just stick to taking 4% out. From that, I can work out, so my teacher's pension tells me how much I'm going to get paid out. The state pension obviously doesn't quite project that far forward, but you can sort of roughly do some guesstimating. I mean, it's pretty rough guesstimating based on the fact that at the moment it's under a triple lock, and you can look at what the average inflation rate will be and all sorts of things, and you can like very, very ballpark figure project forward. And my nest pension tells me how much will be paid out every year. So I can kind of use that as a basis of what my annual income is going to be from my pensions. And then I can work out how much I need in investment funds, drawing 4% down from them every year to top up what I'm getting from my pensions to get me to the annual income that is the one that I want to live on, that I think is going to be enough for me to live the way that I want to live in retirement. I don't want to fly first class, and I don't want to go on yachts. I am quite I think a simple, straightforward person. I just want to be able to garden. I want to be able to do bits and pieces of work if I want to, but not have to. I would like to do like to go on hiking holidays still for as long as that's physically possible. I'd like to do bits of traveling. I like weekends away. I like to be able to eat really good quality food. You know, there's the things that really appeal to me. That's what I know that I've got to pay for. In terms of investments, I have got the 2 tax-free options that you get in the UK, which is a LISA and an ISA. So with the LISA account, you get a 25% top up on what you pay in, and you can only pay into it until you are 50 though. So this is one that I've only got 5 more years that I can actually put money into. So I really need to do a bit better with that. I'm currently not paying that much into it, and I need to kind of maximize the gains that I can make with that one for sure. And then I have an ISA, so a stocks and shares ISA, which is another account where you can put a certain amount of money into every year and your gains are tax-free. So I have those 2 accounts, and like I said, the LISA will sort of stop in terms of me being able to pay into it when I get to 50, but I'll be able to access the money when I'm retired. And the ISA is one that I'll be able to continue to pay into until such times as I choose not to, and perhaps just want to live on that 4% of it when I'm into my 60s, maybe not even until I'm into my 70s perhaps. Now, my little question mark box on this one is something that I've been thinking about recently, and I think I want to set up a dividend investment account, so one that is focused on dividend income every month, rather than one that, or 2 that are based on sort of long-term growth. I think a dividend income focused account would be really helpful for me now as well. I think it's something that could help to stabilize my self-employed income, and that actually I could, if I wanted to or needed to, withdraw that monthly income from that dividend account without worrying about kind of destroying the growth prospects of it, because actually I've got these other 2 accounts that are focused on growth instead. I mean, that's an interesting one. Would love to know what you think about that, if you think that that might be a good idea for me to do as well. Beyond those 2/3, I don't really have any other investment plans, certainly not at the moment. Now let's have a look at the savings. Now, savings are interesting. They are kind of part of my retirement planning, but they aren't income generating. They are just things that I want to have in terms of giving me that real sense of security. And I think that certainly, you know, I have a couple of friends who are in their 60s. My mum's in her late 60s. All of like our other parents, mine and my other half's parents are now in their 70s, and I know that yes, they've got their pension income, but actually having savings pots is something that makes them feel secure as well. So in terms of savings accounts, the types of account that I have are as follows. So a high interest savings account. This one for me is not earmarked for anything specific. For me, this is about having some money in an account where it doesn't fluctuate as much as it will do in an investment account. You know, by its very nature, investments are going to kind of go up and down. Generally over a long period of time, they're going to go up, but you still have to develop a robust tolerance for that up and down nature of things. And then the high interest savings account is somewhere where I can put money, and yeah, it's not going to outperform the market, so I'm not going to have loads and loads of money in there, but it's one where it's safe to look at it and not feel like, oh, my money's gone down, where's it gone? Yeah, so it's a comfort factor. I think a lot of these things are comfort factors, aren't they? And premium bonds is something that is just a really traditional place to put some money in my family. And actually I think in my other half's family as well, to an extent. This is like everyone puts a bit of money into into premium bonds, I mean. And then we're just like texting each other when we win something. I won £200 this month. I mean, I think it was 250, and that wasn't me or my other half. That was my stepmom, I think. Yeah, so there's some money in there, and it just feels like a fun thing, and it's part of a financial culture in my family, which, you know, I think is quite an interesting thing in and of itself. But I do have that as a type of savings account. An easy access income fund, so I've got some money set aside for if my income dips. I do want that to be higher than it currently is. I do need to do a bit of work on that, and also I have taken a bit from it this year as well, because I've had a few ropey months with my online income this year. But that's why that account is really important. So I have that one, and then there's also 2 joint accounts. So there is I'm calling it Easy Access Home Fund. So this is where we're putting money for any decorative stuff in the house that needs doing, any sort of big-ish repairs, like things that are going to cost like £500 or more. We're also using it in part to save some moving costs towards moving house at some point hopefully in the next few years. And then there is the joint account, which is the bills account, and that also has quite a decent chunky buffer in it, and that's just for broken appliances and things like that. So that's something that will continue into retirement as well. And so all of those savings accounts are really, really important in terms of safety and security. They aren't income generating though, but I've included them because I think that they are an important part of like the whole package of where I want my money to be when I get to that point in the future. And actually with these savings pots, a lot of them are about like they're doing good service now in my life currently, as well as being part of the plan for the future as well. And I don't have anything in my question mark box there. I don't want to overcomplicate it, my savings, and have loads and loads of savings accounts. And also as well, within a lot of these accounts now, you can have little individual savings pots, so you can save towards Christmas or holidays and things sort of within one account. So that can be really helpful as well in terms of not over complicating things. I've also got this miscellaneous stuff section that are just a few things that struck me as I was putting this together, things that I think are important to mention. Number one being that the mortgage will be paid off. Our mortgage on this property will actually be paid off fairly soon. We're down to our last, I'm going to say 4 years, because the reason why I don't know it off the top of my head is that we increased the term slightly during 2020 when everything just felt really wobbly and we wanted to reduce our mortgage payment, so we put an extra 5 years on the length of the term. So yeah, what are we, 5 years on? So we're probably back to where we were before, which I think is about 4 years. Anyway, I should have checked before I started recording. So yeah, so if we stayed in this house, we'll be mortgage free very soon. We're not planning on doing that though. We would like to move into a slightly bigger property, and we definitely want to move into an area that we like a lot more than where we're currently living. And in order to get that bit more space and a bigger garden for me to play in, we will need approximately £50,000 to £75,000 more than this house is worth to get the type of house that we want. I expressed that very unclearly. The houses that we're looking at, the houses that are going to be perfect for us for like our next 20-25 years, they are about 50 to 75 grand more expensive than the property that we're selling. So even if we get to the point where we've paid off the mortgage here, we won't be mortgage free for very long, because we'll take one on for the next property. There we are. I got there in the end. Oh my God. Anyway, by the time we're retired, whatever mortgage we've got will be gone, that will be paid off. And then also there's a possibility that we might have accumulated, because I don't know about you, but we just, even as hard as we try, we accumulate stuff. And we're both a bit magpie-like, and we kind of collect bits and pieces. And so, you know, we could end up being sat there at 65 thinking, God, we don't need all this stuff anymore. So there'll be things to sell as well, is what I'm saying. Is there may well be things to sell in preparation for either downsizing the property that we're living in, or just downsizing in terms of thinning out all the took that we've probably managed to collect. And there'll be some money in that. And you know, that money can then be either spent if we're in a position where spending it is an option, or it can be added to investment pots so that it generates some more income for us. So many unknown quantities, aren't there, when it comes to trying to project 20 odd years into the future. And then I thought the other thing that's worth mentioning is that we won't have any financial dependence, because all of our parents are financially stable, they're financially comfortable. It is like highly unlikely that we would have to be financially responsible for them. And also, as those of you that have followed me for ages know, that we are a child-free couple and don't have any financial dependencies in that area, and there won't be grandchildren to pay for either or pay anything towards. So that kind of takes out a bit, and has always taken out a big sort of chunk of expenses from our financial plans. Having said that, I hope that it's still a really interesting thing to look at how different people in different situations are organising their money and planning for their futures. Now, this has been quite a simple, I think, overview. I'd love to know from you though, whether you've got anything in place, whether you have any fears or kind of worries about the future. What kind of things do you not know where to start with? And is there anything that I can talk about more and kind of give you examples of and show you that would help support you when it comes to planning for your own future? And that could be in 10 years time, 20 years time, whatever. I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm happy to talk about my own personal experiences, the decision-making processes that I go through when I'm, you know, coming up with these plans and things. So yeah, I hope that that was useful and interesting, and I will see you again soon in another video.